How does the DJI Action 4 perform mountain biking, hiking, trail running, cliff jumping, and in the water? DJI released the Action 4 this summer, and it has one of the largest sensors in the action camera space. Along with its massive sensor, it has other features you would find in other action cameras like in-body stabilization, 4K slow motion footage, waterproofing, and compatibility with a bunch of mounts for action sports. In this review, I want to see how the DJI Action 4 actually performs when doing real action sports. So I'm going to be taking it mountain biking, trail running, and cliff jumping and swimming in this review. I'm going to be comparing a lot of the footage to my current action camera, the GoPro Hero 11. So does a larger sensor mean a better action camera? If you like these types of reviews, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Let's get into it. I did some mountain biking in Golden, Colorado this past week and put the stabilization to the test. DJI's proprietary stabilization is called Rock Steady, and this is the 3.0 version. I wore the Action 4 on a chest mount and went over some big bumps along my mountain bike ride. Here you can see some really choppy terrain, and as you can tell from the footage, the stabilization is doing a great job of stabilizing the action camera and stabilizing the footage. Here's how it compares to the GoPro, so you can get kind of a side-by-side. And one thing I did notice in looking at the footage is that if you look closely, there was a little bit of distortion in the footage when I was going over this type of terrain, and I don't know if that was because of the Rock Steady stabilization feature trying to do its job, or if that was because it was lower in terms of light outside because it was sunset, so the camera had to kind of do more to compensate, but that was a really minor detail. Other than that, I thought that it performed great mountain biking. The slow motion feature worked great, and when I cranked this thing up to 120 frames per second, as you can see in this footage right here, you can see that it does a really good job of preserving quality and making things look really crisp when slowed down. Now, before I get into trail running and eventually cliff jumping, I want to talk about the menu. So the menu is fairly intuitive to use. It kind of has all of the main features you would come to expect in an action camera. There's big options at the bottom to change the resolution and the aspect ratio and then the frame rate. Additionally, you can change the Rock Steady feature completely off or on, and as you can see, the Rock Steady does crop the footage a little bit, which is just needed for stabilization. Going over to the left, you can see that there are a lot of options for changing to photo, video, slow motion, and time lapse. And then if you go over into the right, you can see a lot of options to kind of fine tune the white balance, exposure, the field of view. If you swipe from the top, you can see a plethora of settings as you use this camera. While these features may seem a little bit confusing, you get to know them. That little nut is the settings menu. And one thing I do want to call out, which is a very nice feature that's becoming standard on these action cameras, is the quick switch option, and you can select up to 2 settings. Once the camera is off, if you want to just start recording, you can just press the record button and it'll immediately start recording. This camera also has voice command activation. I didn't mess with that in this review, but that is an option if you're looking for it. Now, we're testing the DJI out trail running, doing a very popular loop here in Boulder, Colorado, Mount Sanitas. I hiked and ran this trail with both a chest mount and the selfie stick, and this is where I really got to see one of the DJI features shine. I loved how quick and seamless you could switch from different mounts thanks to the magnetic latches on the DJI. That meant I could get some POV footage of me running with the chest mount, and then if I wanted to quickly change to a reaction of myself, all I had to do was press on the switches on the bottom, immediately attach it to my selfie stick, and it was really seamless and really quick to use. You didn't even have to stop recording.
I mean, that is so quick. Like, that's pretty cool. Definitely like that as a feature.
I think for people who want to capture a lot of different angles with different mounts, this is one of the better reasons to choose the DJI, because it does allow a lot of kind of seamless integration with a bunch of different mounts. I did take some photos with the DJI at the end of this run, and the photo feature is just one element of the action camera. I think they really shine with their video recording capabilities and just that they're really small cameras. The photos aren't really impressive. I think your phone would probably take better photos, and that was the trail run. So DJI made waves with this camera because of its large sensor. Because it's a larger sensor, it supposedly can improve the dynamic range that a camera can capture. So that's going to mean it's going to get more vivid and dynamic colors. And then that also means that it's going to perform better in low light because there's just a larger sensor for light to hit and make your footage brighter without decreasing quality. I went for just a short walk around the block to test this feature out. And I will also mention one of the cooler aspects of this camera is that you can actually detach the lens. And what that does is it just removes a layer of glass from the camera so that you get even more light getting onto that sensor. My camera came with a little lens hood, and this hood just doesn't have any glass on it, so it just screws on. Once you screw this on, it stops being waterproof, so you can't take that thing diving. You know, recording underwater is often low light as well, but this is more for just outside footage. Overall, I wasn't really impressed with the low light performance of this camera. I think, you know, it's still a really small sensor at the end of the day. And if you're looking to get really good footage at night, you're gonna need a bigger camera for that. But, you know, as many shoots do, days wear on and it just gets later in the night. So it does improve quality just a little bit in a pinch. For our last action sport, I took this thing swimming and cliff jumping. And you also get bonus footage of me being a total weenie and not wanting to get in the cold water. Still went ahead and tested this action camera out. Again, we were in Golden, Colorado in Clear Creek Canyon. It had just rained the day before, so the water was a little bit murky. So you're not gonna get that crystal clear kind of underwater beautiful scenery. Sorry, I don't live in the Bahamas. This session didn't offer that much when it came to the camera's performance. I thought it performed just fine when dunking in the water, getting out of the water. You know, it was very quick to kind of eliminate any sort of water on the lens. That wasn't really an issue. When jumping off of high things, as you can see in this cliff jumping footage, you know, it performed just fine and it got the job done. Another thing I wanted to test out in this session was the 10-bit color option. And so I selected that. Here you can see the uncolor graded footage, and then here you can see what it looks like when it's color graded. It was a cloudy day. It wasn't like super vibrant colors out there. And after the fact, I wasn't really blown away with how you could improve the color grading of the footage with this option selected. So who is the DJI Action 4 for? I would recommend this camera for creators who prioritize vertical video. So there's one feature of the Action camera that I haven't talked about yet, and I also think it's the most important feature of this camera. It doesn't have to do with the fancy technology inside or its sensor. It's actually a very basic feature, but it's the fact of how it's seamless they integrate vertical video into this thing. As you just saw, I switched from horizontal to vertical really easily. And as you guys all know, vertical content is on the rise with platforms like YouTube and TikTok really investing heavily into vertical video. And so for creators who do a lot of vertical shooting, I think that this camera is built for them. Hello. Now sure, you can shoot horizontal, and especially at 4K, you can crop so you get your vertical aspect ratio, but it's hard to beat the quality of shooting native vertical video like I am right now. There's just way more that you can fit into frame. And as I have done in my previous videos, and I can show you an example right now, when you do just crop a horizontal video, you have to kind of pan from side to side, you do get some quality impairments. It doesn't look as good as vertical native video. And sure, GoPro sells mounts specifically that turn the thing vertical, but those are just extra pieces of equipment that you have to buy for your camera. Yeah. And also, I'd recommend this camera for creators who only want to use one action camera to get a wide variety of shots. As I showed earlier, it's really easy to switch this from mount to mount with its magnetic clasps, and you don't have to worry about unscrewing that screw knob over and over again to change from mount to mount like you would with other action cameras. But if vertical video content isn't your jam and you're somebody who records horizontally, I would say that this competes fairly equally with other action cameras on the market. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you later.